Russia invaded Ukraine on February 24, surrounding the Ukrainian capital Kiev. It also launched attacks in the south, east, and north of the country. In early April, Ukrainian forces retook large areas around Kiev, after Russia abandoned its push towards the capital. Russia has since been focusing its military operations in the south, east, and northeast of Ukraine, seizing large areas. However, things changed dramatically at the start of September. In a decisive offensive in the northeast, Ukraine drove back Russian forces. It claims to have regained 3,000 square kilometers, 1,158 sq miles, of territory around the city of Kharkiv alone. Its forces have also retaken territory in Luhansk, in eastern Ukraine. Since July, the region had been entirely occupied by Russia. In total, Ukraine says it has retaken more than 8,000 square kilometers, 3,088 sq miles, from Russian control in September, its most significant territorial gains since the war started. The cities of Izium and Kupiansk, which Ukraine says were retaken on September 10, were both key supply hubs for the Russian forces. As such, these represent important strategic gains. There is also a Ukrainian counterattack around the Kherson region in the south of the country. The Institute for the Study of War, ISW, says Ukrainian troops have inflicted a major operational defeat on Russian forces. Justin Bronk of the Royal United Services Institute said Russian positions in Kharkiv had suffered a total collapse. The Russian withdrawal was, he said, certainly the most dramatic reverse that we've seen from the Russians since they retreated from Kiev in April. Russia confirmed that its forces retreated from Izium and Kupiansk. It said this was a strategic withdrawal to regroup. It has also said it will continue to target these areas with military strikes. The Russian army appears to have abandoned large quantities of equipment and ammunition during the withdrawal. Russia still holds about 20% of Ukraine, according to the ISW. The areas are largely in the eastern Donbas region and in the south of mainland Ukraine, as well as the Crimea Peninsula, which Russia annexed in 2014. Map showing the south of Ukraine. 12 Sep. The Donbas is a mainly Russian-speaking area, and after Russia seized Crimea in 2014, pro-Russian forces captured more than a third of the region. It created two so-called People's Republics there. Areas in the west of the country, including Lviv, have experienced missile attacks, but no attempt by Russian forces to take and occupy ground. What does Russia want? Russia refuses to recognize its invasion as a war, and says it is undertaking a special military operation in Ukraine. The Kremlin said its operations would continue until all the tasks originally set had been achieved. When launching the invasion in February, President Vladimir Putin said his goal was to demilitarize Ukraine. What does Ukraine want? Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said his main goal is to drive all Russian troops out, to deoccupy our whole territory. Mr. Zelensky has appealed for more funding and equipment to retain the areas retaken from Russia. Western shipments of weaponry are being used heavily by Ukrainian forces. How many people have died? Both sides have suffered losses, although neither publish exact numbers. Ukraine claims it has killed more than 50,000 Russian troops, and at the end of August said it had lost nearly 9,000 military personnel since the start of the conflict.